Life is all about balance. Balancing your time, your budget, your diet, what you want to do with what you need to do. Finding the best middle ground between two often diametrically opposed things. This is an old idea. Chinese philosophy has yin and yang, and Buddhists have been talking about the middle way for 2,000 years. But one balance that's often ignored is that between the short term and the long term. To explain that idea, let's forget Chinese philosophy and Buddhist teachings for a moment and look instead at one of the 20th century's most seminal works of philosophy and scientific ambition. I'm talking, of course, about Back to the Future. In many ways, the heroes of Back to the Future exemplify what we mean by long and short-term thinking. Marty McFly is an aspiring guitarist, but he's too scared to send his demo tape into the record label in case they hate it. This short-term fear of rejection is stopping him seeing the potential long-term benefits of submitting the tape. His entire worldview is defined and limited by his short-term thinking. On the other end of the spectrum, we have Doc Brown, an extreme example of a long-term thinker. He spends 30 years chasing one near-impossible long-term goal: to build a working flux capacitor and invent time travel. And yes, he eventually succeeds, but in the ensuing 30 years, he's ignored the short term so much that he spent his entire family fortune and ends up being murdered by Libyan terrorists he's had to rip off in order to achieve his goal. This is definitely not what good planning looks like. His success is based more on luck than judgment. And of course, if he failed, it would be a fairly boring movie, and not the cinematic masterpiece it so clearly is. So on their own, neither of these work. We need to find a balance between both long and short terms. While this can seem tricky, when two ideas like these appear so contradictory, it's entirely possible. In the business world, it comes down to exploit versus explore. The extent to which a company is leveraging what it already knows in the short term versus how much it's exploring new possibilities for the long term. Countless companies have gone from industry leaders to punchlines, simply shifting the balance too far towards exploit. Kodak, Blockbuster, Motorola, they all became less innovative as they became more successful, and ultimately failed to have a long-term vision. It happens the other way around too. Companies who favored exploration too heavily, but you won't know the names of any. Why? Because they set their sights on long-term goals that they were never able to deliver. They ignored the short term and never got off the ground. So where does the balance lie? In reality, the answer is different for every company, but a great example is SpaceX. Now, it's no secret that SpaceX want to go to Mars, and as long-term goals go, that's a doozy. But let's take a look at what they're doing at the moment. There's their Falcon series of rockets, and their satellite internet project Starlink. Then there's an Earth-to-Earth transport system using Starship, and Dear Moon, a lunar tourism project for a Japanese billionaire. Now, those of you paying attention may have noticed that none of these things involve going to Mars. So what gives? Well, two things crucial to getting to Mars are money and know-how. All these projects make SpaceX money. NASA, the US military, and countless private companies will pay to launch satellites. The money involved in bringing high-speed internet to rural locations is sure to be lucrative. People are definitely going to pay to fly New York to Singapore in 1 hour rather than 17. And as for the billionaire space tourist, yeah, that's not a cheap ticket. As well as the money though, achieving these short-term goals is a great way to work towards their long-term goals. Falcon rockets were never meant to get to Mars, but they earned the company money and taught them valuable lessons. And with every rocket and satellite built, every launch, every failure, they gain useful data in the short term, which will help them to succeed in the long term. In this way, SpaceX's model embodies the balance that we're talking about. Bill Gates said that most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10. The real lesson there isn't about just improving your 1-year plan or your 10-year plan. It's about understanding and developing the relationship between them in order to achieve both by striking a balance between the two.